There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. We Talk Weeklies after the talk on WPPMLP Philadelphia 106.5 FM. We Talk Weeklies after the talk. And we're excited today because we have a dynamic interview. Someone I've been looking into ever since people been talking about this young lady. Right? You know, they've been telling, they said, Charles Gregory, you got to take a listen, man. You have to listen to this, right? So let me tell you a little background story. Someone slid into my inbox, right? And they said, yo, you have to listen to this and have this lady on your show. And I was like, who is this lady? It's like, her name is Mandy. Her name is Mandy. I said, oh, yeah. She was like, yeah, her name is Mandy. I said, all right, like, send me a link. I have to go check it out. So when I went to her IG, it blew my mind, right? I started watching one and then I watched another. Then I started scrolling and looking and listening. I'm like, oh, wow, I never even heard of her, right? And then I scroll and I see that she's actually going to be in Philadelphia, right? And so I slid in her inbox like, yo, you know, I see you're going to be in Philly. You need to come on the show. We Talk Weekly, right? My name is Charles Gregory. Take a look. So she reached back out. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come. And so that's who we're going to have today, a Miss Mandy Mayhem. This young lady does everything, actress, writer, producer. I mean, she can literally do everything. Dynamic family from Toronto, which is interesting. You know what? I went to Toronto. I went to Canada, and I think they have the most beautiful people. When I say beautiful people, I mean how they treat everyone. You know, I'm in Philadelphia, so you already know Philly. You got a bob and weave here in Philly, right? But they have some of the nicest people over there, and so I'm excited to have the ability to interview her. And so, without further ado, let me bring her right on, Miss Mandy Mayhem. How are you?
Hi.
Hey, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How are you? How are you?
So good. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming on the show. Um, Yeah, I want. You know what I said. Once I bring you to the show, right? I had to ask you tons of questions. From just your background alone and how you grew up, and all of that good old stuff, and what got you into specifically this genre of music, right? Hip hop. Someone like yourself, you wouldn't think would normally be interested in hip hop that heavy the way that you are, right? And so
Yeah.
I'm excited for you to jump on. So let's start from the beginning. Toronto. Let's talk a little bit about the family and how you grew up and what do your family think about some of the stuff that you do.
Well, my mom is hilarious. She's my biggest cheerleader. So she's super into it. She's always, like, you go, girl. You're off the chain. Off the chain is her favorite saying.
No doubt.
Um, yeah. So my family was always into music. Like, I remember growing up, and there would be parties every Sunday at my grandmother's house, and things would just kind of get crazy after, once everyone got the liquor into them. And it would be like Dirty Dancing. Remember when she walks in with the watermelons, and it's like,
You're right.
those are my earliest memories of my family and music. It was like very freely expressive, and everyone was dancers. So that, I think, first and foremost was the dancing. So, hip hop it combines two of my favorite things. One is like incredible music, and two is words and poetry, and
Right.
a traditional, I don't know if that's the right word, but a song, um, like a Van Morrison song, is a stunning piece of poetry, but with a hip hop track, you can have like 10 Van Morrison like stanzas, poems in one song. So it's just, I love the compactness of and the art of wordplay, and so I think the poetry and the music combining, I was just like, I'm in. I was born in '75, so
Right.
I grew up exposed to multiple styles of music,
Right.
and Toronto is a beautiful cultural melting pot, and I got like every.
Oh, fantastic. When you say, because most people who are into like poetry and spoken word and things of that nature, they tend to be very introspective. I seen an interview with you, and they were talking about how pretty much how do you get out your funk, and you express being in this slight depression. And I want to talk a little bit about that because I think oftentimes people who are artists, they have that piece to them that a lot of people don't know, right? And I think that's what makes them great, right? Because they have to think and they have to learn how to get out of those hard times, right? Because that's where that dynamic, music right? That's where it comes from, right? And I think hearing some of what you were talking and how to get out of that, it really was heavy to hear. So I want you to talk a little bit more about, just you being in that position and getting yourself out of that funk, and what were some of the things that you learned during that time?
Mm. There have been so many funks, some good, like the good funk,
Yeah.
the bass funk. But there have been a lot of funks over the years. And I think, what I've learned most recently is that as an artist, and I believe we are all creative beings. So
Right.
as an artist, if you don't have an outlet for your creativity, that your creativity turns in on you and starts creating drama in your life. So it's been very important to me to make sure that my discipline in my life and my discipline as an artist is actually around play,
Right.
making sure that I have time to play with it having no end result. So when you live a creative life, a lot of the time you're led to believe that your free time should be spent strategizing and trying to
Right.
figure out what should I be doing on social media in order to, launch my painting career or whatever it may be, when actually what your inner artist is begging for is more time to play with no agenda. So it doesn't have to result in financial gain. It doesn't have to get you more followers, you know, or even get you out of a funk.
Right.
Just to show up for yourself and develop a relationship with yourself where you can trust that there will be a safe space for you to just like play, and in the process of play you will work it out and discover more about what it is that you're trying to experience as an artist. And I think, like, we let children do that in very early grades,
Yeah.
like pre-kindergarten or nursery school, but then once you get into the first grade, second grade, it's like the play just slowly disappears and it becomes about, all of the ticky boxes and learning how to get it right. And we don't nurture that enough. And so we get to be adults and we wonder why there's this internal battle going on. This very, very belligerent voice. I have a line in one of my poems. It's like, um, I was waiting for my life to begin. It never did. My inner critic was being belligerent, forcing myopic vision, like making me only see what this inner critic wants me to see. And your inner critic is very creative too. It has
Right.
a lot of ideas about what's wrong with you. But if you give it an outlet, the point of this long speech is that if you give it an outlet, it's not trying to kill you the rest of the day. It's like
Right.
has its space to run around and play. You have a small child. If you keep them in the house all day, they're going to make your life miserable. You have to unleash them onto a playground at some point, and your artist is the same. But we just don't, it's not valued enough to let ourselves have time to play. We think we always have to be figuring out a way to capitalize on our art.
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. So I think I like the idea that or I like when you say that it's that inner critic, and because I think a lot of us you know struggle with that, right? So much so that sometimes the inner critic wins,
Mm-hmm.
in the debate or in the conversation mentally, right? Where you have a lot of people ready to just give up, right? And so on that point, were there ever, I guess, a point where you said, you know what, I just can't do this anymore and I'm done? And what was the trigger to say, nope, that's just in my head. I'm gonna keep it moving, you know?
Yeah. I I don't think I ever gave up on living an artistic life,
Right.
because I did not start having a professionally artistic life until my mid 30s. I was artistic in a sense. I had a cheerleading company, so I was a choreographer, but then I was manufacturing uniforms and teaching cheerleading camps, and it became a business um, up until my mid 30s. And then I had a series of unfortunate events with business. My father passed away. I lost my house, like one of those crumble to the ground moments that many people have in their mid 30s. And I started working at an art gallery, and an artist there, a friend of mine, said, "You're an artist, you're a blocked artist. Please go read this book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, which is a life changing book, has changed many artists' lives that I know." And it helped me to recognize that this was truly what was going on inside of me. So later on, just most recently in November of this year, I spent 10 years after that working as an actor. And I did music in the beginning of my career. I made a couple of albums, like, 2015 ish. I have a show that's I made with True TV that's now on HBO Max called Mother, which is about a housewife who fantasizes about being a rapper. And, that was like 2016. The world really changed a lot around that time.
Right.
So I felt music wasn't taking off, and I was concerned about whether or not I was appropriating, whether I was hurting people by rapping. I
Yeah.
just was confused. I didn't want to hurt anyone. So I stopped for
Right.
many years and I
Mm-hmm.
just pursued acting. And
Right.
then I got to this point in November where I was getting auditions for retirement home commercials. And I was like, "Oh no, no, I'm 47. Like,
Right.
it's
Right.
cool. Retirement homes are a cool thing maybe in 20 years, but I'm not there. Like, can we stop?" And then I thought, whatever, like, I don't know. I don't know anymore. I've tried everything. I'm just going to do what brings me joy. And I said a prayer
Right.
in the morning. That morning, I decided to start going live on TikTok. I said, "God, please give me a clear path." And I didn't even say to what. I didn't say to music or acting or financial stability. I didn't say anything. I was just like, "You know me, help me out here."
Right.
And then a series of things happened, and I ended up on TikTok that night, and like everything changed. And
Yeah. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk because I think that's probably the elephant in the room, right? You being you said because you mentioned that you were doing music and you didn't want to hurt anyone from doing hip hop, and you being a white woman within a genre that's historically 99.9% black, right? And I want to get into that because I want to go into this is a great transition to start talking about your Eminem disc because I want to talk about that, right? But
yay!
yeah, that's great. But I want to talk. Let's peel back those layers when it comes to that elephant in the room. One thing when we talk about We Talk Weekly, we always say it's a safe space here, right? And we do ask some hard questions sometimes, but it's done with love, and it's just about learning and solutions and how we can expound upon some of our imperfections, so to speak, right? Us as a people, right? And how we can fix some of those things or not fix some things where people the mainstream believe is something wrong, but really it isn't, right? It's just
Yeah.
what you are and who you are. So I want to talk a little bit about that. So let's start first with that feeling of feeling like maybe you appropriating, this whole appropriation type of thing as it relates to hip hop and rap music. And, have you gotten any, I guess, kind of pushback? This, Dame Dash has underscored the term, culture vulture, and that kind of whole situation. So let's talk a little bit about that and, your feelings about that, and then we'll expound.
Yeah. So I get called that every day, multiple times a day.
Wow.
Um, and when I'm live on, one of the apps, it's even more intense because I'm performing and it's just scrolling. Um, And I have moderators on TikTok, and I've talked to them about moderators, meaning they like can block people or get them out of the room or whatever. And
Right.
I've talked to them about this particular comment, and I've asked them to leave it, to let it be.
Right.
And the reason is because I just feel like when someone has had rocks thrown at them their entire life, that when somebody throws a tennis ball, they might at first think it's a rock and
Right.
just react, you
Right.
know? And I want to leave room for people to sit for a minute and change their mind. And if somebody
Mm-hmm.
comes in and makes a comment and gets booted out right away, there's no space for conversation or discussion, you know?
Right. Right.
And like it depends. I go live a lot, like 2 or 3 times a week. So it depends on where I am, like in my cycle, honestly. If I'm on my period, I like can't really deal. But like other times, pre-ovulation, I can have better conversations. Um, but when the first video went viral, it was a month in, it was the Jay-Z You Don't Know cover. And like I'm well aware that covering tracks in hip hop is not a thing. I'm aware that I'm upsetting the apple cart in many ways. I get
Right.
it. So when it first happened, because someone screen recorded it and put it up on Twitter, it wasn't connected to an account. I didn't have a name. I was just like granny's going ham on Jay-Z.
Right.
So I was a meme. I wasn't a human,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it really easy for people to react. So like, it's not like I haven't been on the internet, but I did not expect that level of vitriol.
Mm.
And it's not like I'd never heard that before, because I have been rapping in my past, you know, and have had people close to me say, I think you should cool it, you know, stop. It's not for you. Literally, friends of mine say it's not for you. Um, Not black friends, mind you, but
Right.
in any case. So I cried a lot in the first week, because I was like shocked. I was in shock. Lots of reasons. I was in shock. A woman reached out to me named Michelle Hollinger, and she has written a book. I can't remember the name of the first book she wrote, but it's something like Crackers is the name of it.
Mm.
And it's like how white people, some white people are cracked, and like something like it's a crack in their spirit that needs to be healed. And it's talking about um, the black community and the power that the black community has to help heal. And I haven't read it, so I can't speak to it yet. But she wrote another book called Authentic Allyship. And she came to my page after one of the debates on one of the videos, and said, you know, I see you. She had seen a post I had made maybe a year prior, where I was just doing something. It was a dance that I did in response to, you know, some of the protests and the whole situation, and I didn't know how to express myself. Like,
Right.
so I did a dance, and she had found that video. It was pretty deep in my thing, but in any case, she reached out and said, I see you as an authentic ally. What you're doing doesn't feel performative. It feels like coming from a true place in you. And I think that it's important that you remain part of the conversation. And she said, if something's coming up for you and you're feeling hurt by these comments, it's something that you need to explore for yourself. Like, have the conversation with yourself. What are you afraid of? And I was like, am I appropriating? Am I racist? Am I making fun of hip hop? Like, I had to ask myself all the questions that were coming up that were upsetting me, so that I could make peace with myself and know that I am going to make mistakes, but that my love for this art form is not going anywhere.
Right.
And it's a very particular way in which I express, especially in relation to misogyny. And hip hop has had such an impact on me as a woman, because it was one of the primary genres of music I was listening to, that it affected me and my opinion of myself. So I need to work out my feminism, my internalized misogyny, all of that. Hip hop is the way I work it out, because it damaged me. So I need to respond like like you do in hip hop,
Right.
within the art form, responding within the art form to what I experienced from the art form. I feel like that's a bit of a scattered answer, but all I can say is that I don't know what I don't know still.
Right.
I'm continuously working on um, learning, yeah, doing my own research, and making sure that what I'm doing is in alignment with what feels true. And sometimes what feels true is something that's going to spark a conversation that needs to happen.
Right.
Like the conversation around appropriation needs to happen.
100%. Yep.
Just because I'm in the middle of it, it sucks, but it's a gift to spark that. It's not about me. It's about something so much bigger than me, but I'm a catalyst, you know.
Right. Right. Shout
Yeah.
out to Michelle Hollinger, and I think it's called "Understanding Crackers" is the
Yeah.
book you're referring to. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The
Um,
other one's in my bio, the authentic allyship. If anyone's interested in checking it out, it's a pamphlet, but it's really beautiful.
right. Right. And I appreciate you acknowledging that. I think a lot of the issues that Black folks have are that you have people coming into a culture appropriating and not even kind of paying homage,
Mhm.
to those who have created, and the history of, you know, creative and creative IP that has been taken away from our people often. I think people are nervous and scared and, like, no, we're going to keep that. And part of
Yeah.
that is I want to say is a legitimate fear, right? Is legitimate position. But I appreciate, her telling you, like, I see you authentically. And I think
Mhm.
that's the question. Having those dynamic conversations. One thing we said we talk weekly is you have to have those uncomfortable conversations, because that's what pushes the needle forward. Otherwise, you're backtracking and running in place. You can't move because you can't
Yeah.
come up with the solutions, right? And so I appreciate you acknowledging that. So I think this is an excellent transition to start getting into that and talking a little bit about that Eminem disc, because I wanna know the why behind it, and if you know anyone responded to you by way of Eminem.
Well, it was a long time ago.
Right.
Not that I don't still feel that way, but he has done a lot of work since then on himself. It was after the Shady XV cipher, um, and the reason was I posted his verse on my Facebook page. That's how long ago it was. Just
Hmm.
kidding. Um, and I was like, wow, he is amazing. Like
Yes.
the rhyme structure, because I hadn't really heard him. I think I don't think I'd ever heard him without music before.
Mm.
Um, so it was just so clean and amazing. I was very impressed. And then a friend of mine, June is her name, she responded to my post and said, "Yeah, but misogynist much?" And I was like, "Oh my god, whoa!" Because my whole thing is like, I ran a cheerleading company. Female empowerment is so important to me. I want elevation was the tagline of my cheerleading. I just like dedicated my life to elevating young women in particular and older women. When I went gray, I did this whole podcast about going gray and supporting women in finding our identity outside of our looks and all of that. So I was upset with myself for listening to that entire verse, you know, the stench of estrogen, I'll punch Lana Del Rey twice in the face, and then in the elevator, celebrate with the Ravens. Like, it was just like horrible. And I was mad at myself. And it took me like 3 or 4 months after that came out to deal with my anger and then to write that verse. And then we shot the video in the freezing cold. It was like -30 or something, but I just had to get it out. And no one responded. I mean, who was I? Like, I had won the Hip Hop Karaoke Championships multiple times, and I had performed in New York and London and been on the circuit there. So lots of people knew me from that place. But yeah, I mean, no, there was no response. But there's a lot in there that's still true for me now. Like a line, you know, do you think I don't wish I could work this out with therapy? Take a pottery class and make my rage sedentary, parody S&P's melody, shotgun in my husband's Jeep Cherokee. Like, yes, I wish I could just be that chick that like busts out Salt and Peppa and like puts up the video and it goes viral. And isn't that funny? And like tell my friends at my book club, like, I'm too angry. I have too much to say to just do that and go to therapy and take a pot. Like, it's not going anywhere. And hip hop is a safe space for me to express my rage, express my sexuality, and work out my trauma. And like, I don't know how to stop upsetting people with it, but I have to do it or I'm not going to be okay. I'm going to get depressed. My body's going to shut down. I'm going to create drama in my life. Like, this is my art spirit has to do this. So I don't know what to do. And like Eminem just got my way. And now I don't know. He's probably seen it at this point, to be honest, but.
Yeah, so hip hop is definitely therapeutic for you, in other words.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's therapeutic for a lot of us. I think even as a black man and listening to some of the things that, you know, you hear in music is relatable and you can identify with some of the challenges that's out there, which is why I think it resonates so much with, you know, our culture. You know, hip hop is, and that's the thing, right? You know, they say rap is something you do. Hip hop is something you live, right? Hip hop is the culture, right? You know, hip hop is everything. This is how we grow up. We live what this is. Going into which this, you know, we're in 50 years right now, 50 years of hip hop, you know, and I'm interested to, you know how do you feel about that, you know, and this is 50 years of hip hop and you have to give me, because, you know, I'm going to have you do something later. Like, I gotta, before you let go, you gotta give me like a sweet 16 or something, right? Okay. But I want to know your top 5, right? Your top 5, right? And, you know, talk a little bit about 50 years and how that feels for you.
So I did spoken word in the early aughts. So around 2000, there was this guy named Dwayne. Oh, what's his last name? Anyway, Up From the Roots is the name of the events that he was running. So I was at their first ever competition, and I wrote a poem to hip hop after watching 8 Mile, actually. So I believe everything is either love or a call for love. So my rage at Eminem is coming from love. Because when you love someone deeply, it makes you mad. Like, I love Drake deeply, and I also am so mad at him all the time. So it's like, so in terms of like 50 years of hip hop, when you were when you're saying living the culture, I was remembering being 10. So I was in the 3rd grade, 8. I was 8 years old, so it was 83, and the kids with the cardboard on the corner and just being fascinated. And so we would like sing, you know, Denise Williams, I remember singing, because I just did it in my live the other night, let's hear it for the boy. Well, they were like dancing. Sure. You know, we're like riding our bikes in the neighborhood. Yeah. And then I don't know. It just was everywhere. Like it was just everywhere. Toronto is different. I grew up with dance hall and soca and house and all on listening to the radio before I could go out to clubs when I was like 12 or 13, listening to Deadly Headley, and it would be like, hip hop house, hip house, all the things. So to me, it was all music, and it just so happened to be very well curated on this particular radio station, and I was attracted to the bass, the bass. Yeah. And it's funny too, when I was watching that Netflix special that Shad did, he's a Canadian dude. I think that's his name, Shad. He's a Canadian dude too. And they were talking about the earliest songs, and I remember The Message is like the first hip hop song that resonated with me. Like I didn't like the hippity hop hop song. I liked The Message because it just felt different, and it's like hard to explain, but now I understand why, because of who I've become as an artist. But even as a kid, like there are certain songs that I remember where I was the first time I heard them. It just does something to your body chemistry. So it's like, how do you explain why you like avocado instead of pancakes? Like, I don't know. Right. But hip hop being 50 years old, I feel like I came of age as hip hop came of age. As a teenager, I was listening to like Redhead Kingpin and like, Big Daddy Kane was massive for me. Yeah. But that's part of the problem. Like anything goes when it comes to hoes, because pimping ain't easy. And I'm like, what is this? It's confusing. So yeah. So top 5 is your other question. And
top Lauryn 5, Hill. Yes. Top 5. Who is your top 5?
Lauryn Hill is in my top 5, and I don't care how many albums she makes. She could have made one song. She's still in my top 5. And I'm going to the Roots picnic, so I'm very excited to see her. Jay-Z is in my top 5. Obviously, I'm obsessed with him. Obsession is a strong word. I'm not trying to break up his marriage. If I were, I'd be more on the Beyonce track than something. Not that I don't like, but she's pretty amazing. It changes all the time. So let's say Drake today, because I'm feeling generous. And listen, he's clever and he takes risks and he has a very deep catalog and he's from Toronto. So I don't want to be that
guy. By default. Okay, I got you.
I don't want to be that guy, because Toronto's really hard. We're really hard on our artists, like very hard on our artists. It's one of the reasons why when people come out of Toronto, they're so good, is because no one lets you get away with anything. Like our DJs are amazing because people walk off the floor. Just like, oh, that was a bad beat mix by the screw face capital of the world, they call it. So where am I at?
3.
I don't know. It depends on what it is. Like I really like Guru's voice, for example. I really like Chuck D's cadence. Big Daddy Kane, like his flow. I know this is like a very, very not good answer, but
yes, top 5. So you have Lauryn Hill, Jay-Z, Drake, Big Daddy Kane, and go.
Chuck D.
All right. There we go, Chuck. I know that's right. So that's good. I like your top 5. Cool. You're coming to Philadelphia. I'm gonna definitely try to make it the 30th, correct? Is it the 30th? Yeah. Coming the 30th. Where will it be?
Kung Fu Necktie.
Kung Fu Necktie. Where is that actually? Is that South Street? I think where is Kung Fu Necktie?
Yeah, I think it is on South Street.
Yeah.
Is there a Frog Village?
It's so.
I'm just kidding. Frog Village.
We have
a frog town in LA, but yeah.
No doubt. So we'll find it. We'll locate it. So It's about that time where you give us something so everyone can kind of hear.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've been waiting this long because we like to humanize people. We like to try to know who is. Answer this question for me.
Yes.
Who is Mandy? Who is Mandy?
Mandy Mayhem or Mandy?
How about giving both to me?
Mm. Well, she is an artist who puts experience above all else. So my decision making processes are based on what do I want to experience in this moment. And I try to live by that every day. And if I'm thinking about the future too much or the past, then I know that I'm in my ego. So yeah, trying to stay in the present moment and just not. I don't want to hurt anybody, but I'm not gonna not piss you off. Like that will happen because that's hip hop, baby. Come
Yeah, that's real. 100%. 100%. I mean, you have to have a backbone if you in hip, especially if you attending these rap circuits like Smack and all that. You definitely have to have a backbone when it comes
Yeah,
to
I might try. That might be.
that. All right, it's about that time. Give me something. Let me pull you up front and center. Give me something. Let the people hear that voice.
All right. What can I say? Swears? What's the deal?
Right, we could try to keep it clean. We want to play it on the
Oh,
radio so people can hear you.
that's challenging. Okay. Consummate virality with word of mouth. I'm the best rapper that you probably never heard about. Cocaine, crack, ball, slapping when I spit them out. Kim-ish, look up at the words out of this dirty mouth. Probably didn't think I had this shit, all this bitch banging out the whip. Hating on me while you're playing with your pee-pee. Probably didn't think that it would get this lit, huh? Enough bull. Though I come from an era when you actually had to spit, bro. I come from an era when you actually had to bring it. Balls on balls on balls, singing. Little bit of flavor for your auto tune. I do this part time. This is just my tender two. I do this part time. Actually an actor to crush an audition, then boot them black and blue. Slim shady gray haired lady. Rappers is my sons, your mama's little babies. Maybe I could teach you a thing about standards. Teach you how to rap as long as you got the manners, huh? Treat your mama nice now. If not, then pipe down. Word. Greatest rapper out the freaking burbs. BDE poking out my gray fur. Yes, sir. I've been on one. Actually, I'm on two. Actually, I'm on 10. Look up at your mud dukes. Look at what I'm spitting. You kidding? I got the brilliance. Long shot. One about a million, bit.
There you go, Mandy Mayhem. Make sure you tune in and go check her out when she come down here to Philadelphia. We really appreciate you. One of the questions that I ask people too, I'm gonna throw you a little curveball. I want you to tell me the one thing that no one else knows about Mandy. Mandy Mayhem. No one else knows about you. Dig in that purse, dig in that clutch, whatever you got. Dig deep. Tell me the one thing no one else knows about you.
I don't have a lot of personal boundaries, so there's not a lot that people don't know about me. But something that might surprise people is that I have a 30-year-old child.
Wow.
I had him when I was 17, which is a big, I think, part of why I'm living my life like Benjamin Button. It seems like I'm doing everything in reverse. And my life mantra, I know I said something earlier about what is my life mantra, but here's another one, is it's never too late to be who you might have been.
I love that. I love that. We want to use that. I love that quote. And so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It's Miss Mandy Mayhem. Tell them one more again where they can find you and where's your concert. We Talk Weekly. We're going to try to pull up. We're going to try to pull up, see you out there in those streets. Let us know where we can find you and all that good stuff. Yeah.
So Kung Fu Necktie on the 30th, Tuesday. Doors open at 7 o'clock. I will be sneaking around at the Roots picnic on the weekend, just observing, making friends, saying hello. Philly has given me so much love on social media. It is the one city on TikTok and Instagram that lives on both. Well, New York does too, but I've had tons of love from Philly. So I wanted to show some love back. I am doing material that's not been released or performed anywhere. So I trust the Philly audience to tell me the truth about it. That's another reason why I'm coming to Philly. And Jill Scott is my favorite artist of all time. And, Music Soul Child, is he also from Philly or is he Detroit? No.
Yeah, there you go. Yep. Mm-hmm.
What is Detroit? Music Soul Child is another one of my favorites. So I'm big into neo soul and Philly.
Kendrick the
So
Family Soul. Shout out to Kendrick the Family Soul. Shout out
yeah,
to Jaguar Wright. Shout out to all the Philly, Music Soul, Jasmine Sullivan. Shout out to all of them. Yeah, absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So, is it any Philly artists that you like outside of the roots? I mean, we are in 50. You coming to Philly.
yeah.
Who's some of the Philly artists that you like?
Well, I don't know if you know, but I just did a Lil Uzi freestyle. It's on my and it's funny because he had been peeping my stories. I saw him in my stories, and then I did the freestyle the next day, and I posted I'm like, I see you. I know you're watching me. And then he saw that story too. So he'll be at the picnic. Maybe we'll say hi. And then I did also the Rock the Mic freestyle.
Okay.
Yeah, Freeway and Beanie Siegel. I'm such a huge Jay-Z fan. Like that whole world, I was all up in it. So I'm looking forward to seeing them. And Keith Shockley is opening for me from Public Enemy, legendary brothers Hank and Keith Shockley, who produced Bomb Squad,
Right.
Belle Biv DeVoe, and Public Enemy. Hello, dream come true. I can't believe he agreed. So he's opening too, and he said he might bring Baby Seagull to the show, but I don't want to put anything out of oh my god, that would be
Yeah.
so cool. Listen, anybody who has the cojones to get up and make art, I am all about it. I don't care if it resonates with me or if it speaks whatever. It is so hard to do this, to get out of your own way. I am behind everybody in that sense. So yeah, everyone is my favorite who steps out and tries something, and I am your biggest cheerleader.
Oh, fantastic. All right, no doubt, no doubt. I give you that. That was a safe answer. We got a lot of artists here in Philadelphia.
Jill Scott is my favorite artist of all time.
Okay.
I don't care about anyone else is the point. I don't care about
For sure. There you go. No doubt. So 50 years. It's a concert in Philly coming up, the 50th in the Philly concerts. The hip hop artists. You got Cool C, Steady B, 3 Times Dope. All of the people who came through, Schoolie D. All of you got who else? Major Figures, State Property, Reed Dollars, Hollow Man, all of them. Everybody from Philly, I have to shout you out because Philly, when you talk about artists and going hard, Philly does definitely go hard when it comes to our artistic expression, and that's why We Talk Weekly is here. One thing we always say is once you come to the show, you're a friend to the show, so you always welcome to come back, so you got to promise that you come back. And then when you get, when you start hitting those, big stages and doing, your concerts with Nicki, you know what? I'm going to ask you that. What would be your classic or your, when you say, this is the epitome of shows that I would like to be on, what would be that concert?
I think it would be a lineup.
Yeah.
It would be Nicki, Cardi, Megan, Madonna. I really that's the show I want to see.
Good luck getting all of them on the stage, Yo, that would be good to see though. I like all of them. And so and I like you too. I want you to continue to do what you do, and I appreciate you being authentically you, being an authentic ally, because we need people like you to stand up and speak out when you see something isn't right, especially as it relates to supporting the culture, supporting the black folks out there that's doing some good stuff. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
No doubt. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Miss Mandy Mayhem. Make sure you go check her out. She got a concert coming up. Check out her music. Check out, like I did, check out her IG. That's what you want to check out. She got a lot of stuff on there that's going to have you sitting there for a while, shake your head and saying, this is something that I want to listen to, get into, Miss Mandy Mayhem. So thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you. What a pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine. So make sure you stay in touch. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. Miss Mandy Mayhem, your boy Charles Gregory. We talk weekly after the talk on WPPMLP Philadelphia. 106.5 FM. We talk weeklies after the talk. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back after this, y'all. Holla.